All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Agile Transformation and USDS Playbook. We're glad that you're here for this briefing. And with us here today, we have Alex Baldwin with cPrime. Say hey, Alex.
Hey there, everybody.
Hey, welcome to everybody. I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the GovBrief host, and we're glad that you guys are joining us today. We have a lot of folks coming in, a lot of folks from DHS, and a lot of that's because of your involvement with what's happening with the DHS Agile contract. Tell us a little bit about that real quick before we get started there, Alex. How does that work? What is that contract?
Sure. So the DHS contract is the DHS seed. That was a BPA of $300 million, where they selected 9 different primes and a number of subs to be able to facilitate an agile transformation within multiple divisions of DHS. So we are one of those subs to one of our larger primes, and we're helping with the whole agile transformation process, not only providing coaching, but also doing the training component as well as ongoing consulting work to ensure that the team is more effective in the development process.
Love it, love it, love it. That's great, and that's congratulations on that. That's no small feat to be part of that. That's a pretty large contract. So we welcome folks from DHS, especially from ICE. There's a bunch of folks that registered from ICE, so we appreciate you guys being here. We have some folks from Department of State, which we will be featuring, right, Alex? We're going to be featuring them today.
We are, dude.
Yeah, and folks from VA, GSA, DARPA, and Army and Department of Transportation. Welcome. If we didn't get you, it's not that we were trying to ignore you. The session agenda today, we'll talk a little bit. We already did the introductions, but briefing and controls. We'll talk about how you guys can communicate with us. Some of the initiatives and regulations. We'll talk about Department of State case study that Alex wants to review. And some of the key issues that are facing agencies specifically because of the initiatives and regulations. We will incorporate your Q&A, and we'll tell you how you can do that in just a moment, as well as recommended action steps, procurement options, and additional resources. So with that, if you see this little bar, it could be on the bottom, could be at the top. If you like the way that Alex looks today, you can make him larger and expand him, or you can make him disappear altogether. So that's how that bar works, so you can join us that way. The other part is you can open up your panel on the right-hand side, and there are handouts that are incorporated in this presentation. You can download those, and we will, and you can print those out and have those for your review for later. Those handouts include the memoranda that we're going to review, as well as the presentation itself and the USDS report to Congress. And we'll be talking a lot about U.S. digital services today, because that's part of the reason why we're here, is to review what they're doing and to help you gain access to them as well. If you would like to communicate with us, you can raise your hand with that little hand doodah thing, as well as chat a question with us, and we will do our best to answer those questions. At least Alex will anyway, because he's the expert on Agile. And if you did call in on the phone, make sure you enter your number, your PIN number with a pound, with the number and the pound, so that we can unmute you on that. If you'd like to email us, you can do it at govsupport@cprime.com, and we will make sure that you get the information that you need. So, real quick disclaimer, we are not affiliated. This event's not affiliated or endorsed by USDS or any other agencies. It provided you, the audience, for informational purposes only, and any folks here from the government. This is not an indication or endorsement of or commitment to purchase from any vendor, even if it is cPrime. Right, Alex? So
Right.
we got that out of the way. So tell us about cPrime. How did you guys get involved? You started in 2003. Tell us about what you guys do and what you do for the federal government specifically.
Sure. So happy to kind of jump in. Again, this is Alex Baldwin from cPrime. We are based in San Francisco, but myself, I'm actually based in Washington, D.C., so kind of in the heart of it, living in Navy Yard. And speaking of the weather being nice just yesterday, there was a ton of DOT folks in my neighborhood kind of wandering around just because it was the first nice day of the winter. So, but as far as how cPrime got involved in the government, we continued on our journey to become more agile ourselves. So in 2003, we started as a staff augmentation project management firm and allowed ourselves the ability to grow in whatever direction the market was going to take us. And that's where the agile development process came about. We learned that there was a need for folks to become more effective in their development processes, to have a faster time to market, taking information from ideation all the way through dollars in their pocket. And we wanted to make sure we streamline that process for our clients. So not only did we start staffing those types of engagements, but we started doing our own transformations and then decided to make a larger impact in the government, because we were working on a few of the government, with a few of the government agencies, and that gave us a sneak peek of what was going on inside. We were working with the GSA for a number of years, just on the back end, helping defining SAFE in government and what that means. Scaled Agile for the Framework Enterprise is what SAFE stands for. And that's a training that is now allowed to be performed within government agencies and cleared spaces, what have you. So there was representation from our team as well as a number of other folks in GSA specifically. And then Agile being an empirical process, we wanted to ensure that we had added a lot of vigor to the V&B and compliance side of the house for a lot of our government folks that we work with. So as David mentioned, we are a GSA IT70 holder. Not only do we have training, program support, as well as consulting listed on there, but we are Atlassian's largest solutions partner. So working with that team and being able to augment those tools within our Agile process transformation. So I know that was a bit long-winded, but that's kind of the quick background of cPrime.
No, that's great. I appreciate it. And just so I see that you have Navy up there, you work with the Navy, and I'm sucking up all the Navy people today with my information, with my outfit, as well as my information, because we know that the Army Navy game is coming up this weekend. So that's why I'm sucking up that way. My buddy is a graduate from the Naval Academy. So welcome everybody from the Navy again. Not that we want to kick anybody from the Army to the curb, but maybe not today anyway. So, so why are you here today? Let us know why you are here. And let me select this poll. And are you here because you have a project that requires Agile methodologies? Are you interested in learning more about Agile's best practices, or your boss made you come? That could be it right there, right? You can pick any of those that apply, and we'll get those pieces together. And it looks like, let's see, we have everybody here. So there you go. So here it is, 50-50. Somebody has a project, some folks have a project here, and some are interested in learning more about Agile best practices. That's exactly why we're here. So we're glad you guys decided to join us, and welcome again. Some of the initiatives of the reasons why we're seeing Agile happen the way that it is, and we'll explain a little bit more what Agile is for those who are not familiar with it. But there's some initiatives back January 23rd, the hiring freeze executive order, March 13th, the reorg executive order. And then you had on April 12th, this is 2017, M1722, which created the government-wide reform plan, which affected the fiscal year 2019 budget with management. The agenda was driven down from management, and they gave the priority goals for agency reform as well as the human capital gains. The biggest thing that's associated with this is doing more with less, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But the idea here is to maximize the employee performance. We know that they're looking to do more with less, obviously, and to shift what they're currently doing into service delivery models to streamline the reporting burden. If you haven't seen these things, you can look these up in M1722. That is attached as well. And identifying areas where you have duplicate efforts that are, and we have this across the government, right, Alex? We have this on a regular basis where there's duplicative efforts that are happening where the left side and the right side are doing exactly the same thing. So they're helping to streamline this with the portfolio and making sure that they're using those best practices to leverage that throughout the agency. So that's the idea, is to gain access to the best practices, which is what we're going to talk about here, and make sure that gets delivered through the rest of the agency, find out where those duplicates are happening so that ultimately everybody can do more with less. So what are some of the challenges that you have with meeting those M1722? Understanding the impact on your organization. You can pick as many as you like, by the way. Developing improvement plans, providing effectiveness of the improvements. So being able to measure the effectiveness, develop requirements. If you're in contracting, develop requirements for your RFPs or the budget. So with that, I'm going to give you another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and great. Appreciate that. And here's what we got here, Alex. 100% saying they're having issues with proving the effectiveness of the improvement. So I think there's some things there that you may be able to help them with in being able to measure those results. Isn't that true?
That is true.
Absolutely. So the other part of this briefing is dealing with the USDS resources. Just a quick recap for US Digital Services. If you're not familiar with them, you can check them out at cio.gov, and you can actually see the playbook, which is playbook.cio.gov. I was going to download and put that in there, but it's actually just on the website, so you can go there and get that. It started in 2014. Steve Van Rokel, the current US CIO, started it. It was continued through Tony Scott. Tony Scott grew it into over 200 strong. The whole concept around this is it takes top engineers and policy experts as well as digital experts, and you can call them super geeks if you want to. They're folks from Google, folks from Facebook, the cutting edge kind of folks to come in and be able to do SWAT teams within agencies and organizations to say, hey, here's where you have your challenges, and here's where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. And you can see that in the USDS Playbook at https playbook.cio.gov. And the one that we're going to be talking about today is play number 4, which is in the playbook, which is build the service using agile and iterative practices. This gives a whole lot of momentum behind the whole agile methodologies and has agencies looking at this. So when we talk about agile, Alex, tell us, for those folks who aren't familiar with agile, tell us what it is and how you guys go through the process of implementing that, and what is the outcome that they're trying to get to.
Certainly. Yeah, happy to jump in. And per Dave's note on number 4 of the USDS playbook, it's a very short component. So play 4 is probably the shortest grouping on there. So it's a quick read. You can even send it to your boss if they have any questions so they can just kind of digest on their own. But from the agile perspective, excuse me, when we look in general and when we talk about the agile method, it implies an iterative and incremental method of management. So it focuses on helping teams in an evolving landscape, maintaining a focus on rapid delivery of the business value, and then the methodologies used in Agile project management all follow the Agile Manifesto. And so that is based on continuous improvement, flexibility, input from the team, and delivery of the results with high quality. Here, as Dave has on the slide, the benefits just include, I'm not going to read each one of these, but having a faster return on investment is a huge component within the government, right? You want to find a way to take what you put in and get a larger result from what you're going to be getting out of it. That's where we also are able to reduce risks. So understanding that you have a more predictable lifecycle management process, giving your team more visibility, more flexibility within a development process allows you to reduce those risks, and because you can plan more effectively and you can see that tangible result of your product development. So a lot of people get confused that, oh, agile is synonymous with just things that are within a technical space. That is, while it is fairly true, it does take on a lot of facets of business, within finance, within marketing, and within procurement. So it's not just going to be within the IT space. It's going to be through every facet of an organization, an agency, as well as any other part of a company that would otherwise need to be more effective in their processes. And
to your point, one of the acronyms that is being used more and more in the federal space that wasn't used in the past is ROI, the return on investment, the ability to measure your results. And that's exactly what a lot of folks here are trying to figure out. How do you measure those things and get to a place where you know that you're getting the best bang for your buck? Great point. So with this, we're going to talk about the Department of State. This is the Human Resources Executive Office. Tell us about this particular process that you guys were involved in for this case study.
Sure, and I'll try to keep it brief. There's a lot of details that occurred in there because it is a larger agile transformation throughout the government, because it is a 4-year ongoing engagement that we have. So it was an initial ceiling of $20 million, not 200, $2 million. And then we have about 60 full-time employees that are working within that organization. That's 16, not 60. Within those folks, we have our own certified Scrum Masters, certified product owners, and coaches that are supporting the ongoing Agile Transformation Initiative. So just as a quick background on that, EHS provides service desk support, infrastructure services, as well as support a portfolio of web-based applications and back-end components that tie into the entire department. So this consists of about 850 local users and 40,000 worldwide customers on DOS classified and unclassified systems.
That's a pretty significant. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
It is. It's quite large.
I know that's not an easy. That is not an easy thing to, number one, compete for and win. And you guys are doing a great job. And I'm glad that we get the chance to be able to review that. And as you can see, if you're talking about 40,000, you said 40,000. Is that what you said?
That's correct.
That is an impressive number of folks to have to kind of pull together. So great work on that. So let's talk about some of those challenges, because here you have, obviously, if you have that large of an organization, some of the things that you're up against, that's pretty significant. So tell us about that.
Yeah, of course. And so EHS has a number of challenges. I wouldn't call them problems or issues. It's mainly challenges with the process. They have a lot of super technical folks on the team. They have a lot of process-oriented individuals. It's just a matter of getting over that additional hump. So they have all the tools, all the technology, and all the know-how to do it. It's just a matter of coaching to turn what is more of an oblong shape into more of a circle. So that's where we come in and we start rounding out those edges. And so that's working within an organization that does have a highly classified environment attached to it. They developed wireless applications as well as screen mockups to ensure all requirements are fulfilled within the organization. As a part of that, their business functions are approved and properly prioritized, and they have to ensure that all of the conflicting issues are resolved. So those are the three major challenges that they had. And so that's where we came in with a solution to where we provided guidance and mentoring from the senior Agile coaches that we have on the ground that are being able to tell the executive leadership from the top down, how do you do development and how do you work within the project team to implement a solid foundation for methodology and to ensure that they have accurate and complete documentation as defined by PMO guidelines, because we didn't want to leave anybody out. A lot of people believe that this is just a bottom-up initiative where just the developers are affected. It needs to come from the top down as well. So every facet of the organization and agency is all involved. And so the team there at EHS understood that, and we continue to push that throughout. And that's kind of our goal moving forward, is to continue to propagate that message.
Isn't that one of the main things that Agile addresses is the difference between top down and bottom up, and being able to get buy-in across the whole organization?
That's correct, because there's multiple levels within an organization, even though a lot of people look at them as silos, where you have just management, or you have just sales, or you have just the procurement side, where you want to make sure that you are able to break down those barriers in between. That's where that DevOps component comes in. It's breaking down silos, and working within Agile allows for more streamlined communication. So just because someone is a senior unit chief or another individual within the organization that has a higher title than the next person, that doesn't mean they can't speak to one another. They can certainly be able to converse. And the idea of Agile is that everyone's speaking the same language. So when you bring up a certain topic or a certain language of, hey, we need more assistance doing X, Y, and Z, folks that are above you and below you should understand what you're saying. And so that's the whole process of transformation.
And to your point, that becomes one of the sticking issues too, is because they just don't even know what the language really is, and they have different interpretations of what the language really is. So good point in being able to help identify, as you mentioned, the conflicting issues and all the pieces that kind of flow into this, being able to manage that and deal with those conflicting issues. So tell us about the results of that, because it sounds to me like you're making some pretty significant changes at Department of State.
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's not an overnight process, right? It is a very large oil tanker that we are turning one small turn at a time, trying to get it back into a separate port that is going to allow them to have more functionality and build that solid foundation, as we mentioned, moving forward into the future. So as a part of the results that we're seeing thus far, and mind you, this is ongoing, so this is not a final solution. This is something that's going to be pushed, and hopefully we can continue to push this across the organization. But we've been able to leverage our coaching and consulting experience to educate directors, deputies, division chiefs, and managers in the development and implementation of IT strategic roadmaps. These efforts just made sure that we had clear and measurable objectives. We also had those structures and processes that resulted in just a greater impact and effectiveness and engagement with the stakeholders and team members. So just like we had mentioned before, that top-down, bottom-up initiative, we had the stakeholders at the top and the team members at the bottom all being able to communicate and effectively having that transparency that they needed to get the job done. So that's going to continue to occur in the next few years as we push this project from what was just a oblong circle into something that's more refined and concrete.
Yep. And what I love about it is it helps to get you to the place where you have the M1722, gives you the quick wins, getting to identify those efforts and a lot of those are the conflicting efforts as well as the duplicative efforts, and leveraging that expertise that you just said. You take that and you leverage that through the next one, and you show folks how to handle and get to the place where you have the best practices. Ultimately, doing more with less. You reach the objective of doing that. So what is your biggest issue with Agile? Some people didn't know anything about Agile until today. So let's figure out what they have to say. So maybe it's getting buy-in from the top. You mentioned this. How about getting buy-in through the rest of the organization? Could be those folks. Could be training. It could be for finding qualifications and finding the right vendors. And there's a lot of vendors that are out there, not just you, as you know, but being able to get to the place that you need to go. And it looks like, are we there yet? Almost. Here we go. And boom, here we go. Here we have it. Getting buy-in from the top, getting buy-in through the organization. 100% on training though. Everybody is there. And then finding a qualified vendor is the other part. So there you go. Well, good. I appreciate that information as well. All right. Questions. If you have any questions, the couple of different things you can raise your hand with that little hand icon there on the right hand side. If you called in on the phone, and there is somebody that's on the phone. If you called in on the phone, you have to press your super secret number that's there, the audio pin, and pound your audio pin and then there, and then we'll be able to unmute you. All right. So issues with buy-in. Here's a question. Issues with buy-in. How do you get to engage those people? How do you engage all those folks when you're having issues with buy-in?
When it comes to buy-in, naturally, you're going to want to get everybody who's in between you and that person to be on the same page. That's generally easier said than done. So that's where we like to come in as a resource for that, because we have that experience. Whether you do leverage, and I saw that previously, training was one of the biggest problems with Agile, but training is super effective. And I hate to use an antiquated term, but it's certainly something that allows your team to be able to speak that same language as we talked about before. So you don't want to just come to your boss or come to your unit chief and say, hey, we need to be more agile. They go, the heck is that? And you have to explain it from the front end, just like we did today. You want to be able to have a concrete story for them as we talk about results. Tell them why it's important to your specific organization. And that's the road mapping effects that we're able to do with GovBrief as well as with our own team, and being able to make that concrete story and tell them, hey, this is how it's going to affect you positively. These are some of the challenges we're going to face going through this process, because it's not an overnight success. It's going to take time. And these are some of the things that we can do to mitigate those challenges.
And that's a good point. And I do believe that in most instances, it is a matter of defining what the training looks like and how you can pull all those pieces together. Because the disconnect between top and bottom, the folks at the bottom are like, here just comes another initiative, right? Here comes something new. Somebody else comes in, wants to put their fingerprints on things, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing because it's ultimately not going to change anyway, right? So that's been the mindset that happens, and that's not just the federal government, right? That's just any large organization. So being able to handle that. What are some of the different methodologies that you utilize? You mentioned Atlassian before. What are some of the different methodologies?
Yeah, so Yeah, great question. So as far as the methodologies that we use, Atlassian is going to be a tool to help augment that. So that allows teams to be more effective in their agile processes because it takes the tools, which I'm sure most of the folks on the line have heard of, Confluence, Jira, Jira Service Desk. Those are the ones that we help teams implement to improve the process. But as far as the methodologies themselves, we're looking at names like LEST, DAD, Scrum, SAFe, which I know all sound very silly, but they all have great acronyms and are for different parts and different facets of organizations. SAFe is for more than scaled agile for the framework enterprise. There has been a new release since the SAFe Summit about 3 months ago to where we are able to deliver SAFe training within the government. They are on the GSA schedule. They're able to help the team scale throughout. So looking at the team level, the program level, and the portfolio level, and how work gets done at each one of those levels and how it doesn't just flood from bottom up, but it also comes from top down. I know we use those terms interchangeably quite a bit today, but as far as the methodology we recommend starting with is going to be Scrum. Per your note, David, as far as I've been doing this type of development for 30 years, why should I change now? Is the same adage that we hear from a ton of folks within the government.
Yep.
It's not anything that we've encountered that has become an issue for getting that buy-in from the top, which is where you can say there are abbreviated courses and there's smaller sets of information that they can digest, because obviously those that are in management have less time to deal with learning new material. So you want to condense it as much as possible, give them the abridged version and give them the clip notes, if you will. So we have all that information available on our website, as well as a ton of other links to other websites that you can help put that story together in a very quick and concise way.
Yep. And I think that your site has a lot of great information on it as well. And we'll talk about some of the other sites. So somebody was just commenting about my Maryland mug. Yes, I am sporting the Maryland mug, and I am unashamedly supporting the Navy for this weekend. So there you have it. So we appreciate those questions. And if there's any additional questions, you can shoot those to us. All right. So let's get to the next part, which is, when do you expect an agile requirement? And that can be like right now. And or is it Q2 2019? This is fiscal year, by the way. We're already almost to the end, if you can imagine that. We're almost to the end of Q1 of 2019. It always amazes me after the fiscal year ends how that works. So let us know what you got, and we'll make sure we incorporate this for you. And we have everybody voting, and here's what it looks like. We got one that's coming up in Q3 2019, and one and some others that are not sure. So we appreciate that, but we will make sure we continue the conversation with you. Just real quick, ways that you can reach out to cPrime if you're interested in any more information from cPrime as far as the procurement side. Now, you guys are not small business, right?
That's correct. We are not a small business. We were for a number of years, and then when we attained our GSA schedule, because we hit a larger revenue mark as well as employee mark, we had to jump into the large business category. That stopped us from being able to work on it. Yeah.
Congratulations. You never want to apologize for doing good things and growing, right? So you got to be good at what you do if the government is working with you as a large business, but you also have the ability to do it through partners with 8A, woman-owned, hub zone, service disabled, whatever is necessary. You also mentioned the DHS Seed BPA. Tell us what that is again, one more time.
Yeah, so the DHS Seed BPA is that $300 million blanket purchase agreement to where there's 9 individuals, 9 primes that are on there, and we are actually one of the subs on there. So we are within our own subprime relationship. There are 4 other groups that are also large businesses working with our team. So it's our large business status has not precluded us from any sort of workaround. We obviously can't directly compete on a small business set aside, but because of our large partner web and organizations that we work with, we are able to get access to those types of contracts that are out there on the market now.
And that's a big one. And I think that a lot of agencies are going to be looking at DHS Seed as their own methodology for being able to get to and meet the initiatives that they're looking for. So that's a great place to look. Additional Resources and examples, you will find those at US Digital Services. That is the playbook that we've been talking about. You can see play number 4, but you can also see all the rest of the plays if you go to the playbook.cio.gov, and you will find it there. GSA Tech Guide, which also goes back and forth to the Digital Services Playbook. You can get that at tech.gsa.gov. Guides, Digital Services Playbook. But if you go to tech.gsa.gov, you can follow a whole bunch of great things there. A couple of examples of Agile in motion, if you can say such a thing, and looking at how this kind of methodology has played out. You can find those at the va.gov/playbook. And also there's a healthcare with the application introduction. That's actually the system that they did the improvements with. So you can see some of the kind of results that you can find there. And you can talk to people that have done it and it has worked. You can go to USCIS as well as Department of Education, which did the collegescorecard.ed.gov. Those are all examples of how the Agile framework was used, how the digital services playbook was used to get this information out there. So if there's any more questions, we'll get to those. I do have one that said we're asking a question about the presentation. Yes, the presentation is available through the handouts, as well as we will do a recap email to get that information out to you. And this is also being recorded, so you can watch it over and over and over the Christmas holiday. What do you think of that, Alex?
It sounds great. Sorry that everyone has to hear my nasally voice today. It's just the weather changes are causing quite a bit of allergy.
Yeah, it is. Some of my kids are getting the sniffles. So fortunately for me, I don't have that passed on to me yet. And since this is remote, we're not infecting each other, right? So, but we want to thank you for joining us. There's Alex. There's your information. The best place to catch up with you is email and phone, and it is right there. So any parting conversations or suggestions for anybody as we let them go?
No, and I appreciate everybody's time that's on the line, and certainly any questions, comments, concerns you have about it, or just looking for best practice tips and tricks. We have a huge bench of individuals that are able to provide you with further knowledge than I'm able to from an actual delivery standpoint. We can put you in touch with the folks that are delivering for DHS, as well as for any of our other government clients, so you can get real world best practice experience from them and knowledge transfers. So if you want to pass along to your organization, we're happy to have those conversations.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here, Alex. Thanks for everybody else for joining us.
Of course.
We appreciate it. Have a very great holiday season if we don't see you here before the end of the year. And we'll make sure that you get the recap email out, and that will happen in the next couple of days. So look for that. We'll incorporate all the Q&A as well. So thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.